Thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you for this wonderful introduction. So I want to say here that, first of all, thank you, C Star Global, for this opportunity to be here in this event, this Global Business Forum here in New York. So I'm going to talk about a tool, a set of tools that I discovered, and I'm going to share with you that are called the 4X growth tools to unleash your unbreakable spirit and become a great leader and be successful. So why I came through this? Because as C Star made in the introduction, my name is José Pereira, and I'm a former oil and gas executive. I did my 35-year career in the oil and gas. I began very early, very young, back in Venezuela, because I'm Venezuelan born, and I stayed during decades working in the oil and gas in Venezuela when PDVSA, the oil and gas, was one of the fifth most large companies in the world. And I did a lot of leadership position in joint venture with international companies. And like a decade and a half ago, I was assigned here in the US. I live in Houston. And I became, at the end of my career, the CEO of Citgo Petroleum. But that situation happened in a moment that really, for me, was very challenging, because I became the CEO in 2017. So anybody that can be hearing me today can go to the story. That you can Google our story. In 2017, we went through this terrible situation. But before that happened, I want to share that it began all this turbulent situation between the US and Venezuela in 2017, because unfortunately, Venezuela today has a communist regime. And we were in the middle of that situation, but I was here in the US, working in the oil and gas here in the US. And I never thought that a situation like this could affect me. But I didn't like what was going on. So I talked with my wife and said, you know what, I'm going to get retired. So I flew in 1 month before my situation. I flew to Venezuela and I asked to get my retirement. And back and forward, they approved my retirement. So I came back to here to the US. And when I was flying back, that is October 2017, I received a call to go to a summit in the company, the closing of a summit. Then I was the CEO, I was going to close the summit. So that was in a Sunday. And I went to the closing, and there was a speaker in the closing, a motivational speaker. And this guy, when I asked who this guy was a guy called Captain Phillips. You know, the guy that Tom Hanks did the character in the movie? Okay, but was a real guy, that he had been hostage of the Somali pirates some years ago. And he was talking about how he overcome his ordeal. So when he finished his speech, that resonated really with me. And I told the guy, hey, my friend, what a journey you went through. And the guy told me this. He told me that everybody has inside that inner force, that everybody has inside that unbreakable spirit, that when you go to an extreme situation, you can unleash it, but you have to connect with God. So when that guy mentioned me that, I remember that when I was driving back to my home with my wife, I told her, wow, what a powerful speech. You know, that really resonated to me. What I didn't know, that 1 month after, I will have to put that in proof. So 1 month after, I received a phone call to go to a last-minute business trip. I flew to Caracas with my 5 top executives, and it resulted to be an ambush, because these guys were preparing the ambush because they wanted to get us as hostage to negotiate for the relationship that was very bad between the US and Venezuela, because by that time, the administration here in the US was imposing sanctions and had done a ban, an oil ban to that country. And this guy decided to take us as hostage. And we became, for them, we were accused to be American spies and had committed treason to the country. So I was in the middle of a meeting doing my presentation when I saw these guards of that country, the military police of that country, coming and taking us with handcuffs to a dungeon for the next 5 years. So that extreme situation for us, when I came back in October 2022, as the presenter mentioned, I'm going to have 2 years that I was released very soon. So it drives me to a deep reflection. All the situations have gone, the experience that I went through, and all that long leadership career that I did during my career. So I began to think about all the situation because I didn't know exactly what was going to be my new course of life. So when I begin to go to my healing process and I begin to rediscover and revisit all these events, I found a pattern that helped us to survive. And this is the pattern that today I'm going to share with you. So that is exactly what I call the 4X growth tool to unlock and unleash your leadership spirit and become a successful guy in your business or in your life. So, because this is something that we discovered after we came back and we connected to our spirituality, we came back to our church, and we discovered that really this has been a master plan that God prepared for us. And today is part of what I share in my coaching, what I share in my speaking, and I share in my book. I'm going to talk later on that. So let's start off on what I call the 4X tools. We went to extreme ordeal. So I decided to convert those 4 tools in acronym called R.D.E.A.L. Very similar to ordeal is R.D.E.A.L. 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 So what stands the R? The R stands for resilience. The D.E. stands for determination. The A stands for adaptability, and the L stands for leadership. I'm going to talk each of them, and I'm going to tell you how we went through this and how I explain you to use it in your business and in your life. So let's begin with resilience. I'm going to say something here. When I came back in October, I had been living in a time machine. I was lost in translation, so I missed a lot of things in life. When I came back, I began to hear a lot of terms and people talking about being resilient and being resilience. And that term for me was new. I didn't know what resilience was. I began to say, what is resilience? And I discovered that for me, resilience was not a word, was what we were going through. We decided during those 5 long years that we needed to come back to our family. So that made us become resilient, because you discover the resilience when you're going through an adversity. That's where you really see if you are or not resilient. And this is something that you can discover, you can unleash it in you. So how we did it, and how you can do it. The first thing when you're going to any adverse situation in your life is that you need to be focused on what you're going through. You need to be focused. What means being focused? It's so easy that when you're going to any adverse situation in life, you lose the focus. So you don't know what's going on, and that drives you to anxiety, that drives you to depression. You don't know how to handle situation. This is something that's very common to happen in your business or in your life. You're in a leadership position and something is going wrong in your business or in the market or any situation that can be happening. Like, for example, 2020, the pandemic. So you don't know how to handle things. You don't understand the process you're going through, and then you go through anxiety and you get depressed. That's very common. Leaders get depressed in their business because they don't know how to handle situation. So the first thing you have to do is that you need to be focused. When you get focused, that drives you to be calm. and you begin to see the things a little bit more clear. When you see the things more clear, maybe you have the solution in front of you and you don't see it. Or maybe you don't have the solution, but now you have the path how you can find the solution. So that's what focus means, when you get focused. When you get focused, that drives you to another thing that is so key in any situation, that is be positive. Maintain your mind positive. Change your positive mindset. That is something that I discovered in our case. We were going through a terrible situation. We were in a dungeon, isolated, and we were having severe health issues, mental issues, because we were hearing a lot of physical and psychological torture. We were having psychological torture ourselves. So that was a very extreme situation. But even in the darkest moment, it's your choice if you decided to be positive or not. So in our case, we wanted to keep positive because we had a family waiting for us. We had people that loved us. So we decided to switch our mind that at the beginning was really hopeless and become positive. So any situation in life, you need to be positive, no matter what you're going through. The third thing that you have to do to become resilient is you need to be connected with the people that love you. You have to be connected with the people that care with you. In your business, you have to connect with your employees. You have to connect with your peers. You have to connect with your management team. Because this is another thing that leaders do. That when they're going through any situation, they isolate themselves. They become hostage of their own situation. And when you isolate yourself, you create a shield. So now you get a disconnection. You need to get connected. In any situation in life, in any adversity in life, please never do things alone. Because this is a big mistake when you're doing things in life or in business, doing things alone. When you do things alone, that drives you to more anxiety and more depression because you're alone. When you get connected with the line of connection is where you can be more stronger. In our particular case, I could survive because I had the support of my family, my wife, and people that care for me, that love me. Because that drives you to something else. That gives you hope. When you're going through that gives you hope. So now we're having hope. And that hope drive you to more strength. So now you're beginning to take more care of your mental and physical health. Because any situation in life or in your business, if you don't take care, it drives you to problems in your mental and physical health. So you need to take care of your mental, physical health. You need to take care of the physical and mental health of your employees. That is so key. The successful companies are those who they take care of their employees. They take care of their mental and physical health. You can hear stories of companies like Google that has a lot of support of their employees on their side, that have even gaming rooms to the people get relaxed, etc. So now you are focused. Now you're positive. Now you're taking care of your mental, physical health. Now you're having that connection, and there is that last thing that is missing: connect with your spirituality. You need to connect to your spirituality. I'm a God believer. I decided to connect with God. So now, in our case, we rediscovered the Bible. We rediscovered the Word, and we discovered that the Lord was with us. And you can believe in any entity, higher power, universe. During my captivity, we had people that were Muslims. We had people that praised Buddhism, and I respect that. And everybody was praised their belief. So because you really need to get connected to your spirituality. When you do all these things together, so that makes you be resilient. So when you become resilient, that gives you hope, that gives you strength, but now you have the connection with your spirituality. It drives you to have something that is powerful, that is the faith. Because now you have faith. Because the faith is the belief in the things that you don't see. In our case, we begin to have faith that we're going to be released. In your business, you had to have faith that you were going to be successful. You had to ambition it. So that is what resilience is. So now comes the second tool, that is that determination. The determination for me was a principle that guided me during all those dark days. Because determination is that you are not going to be driven by your circumstance. You have a purpose, you have a dream, and you go for it. I'm going to say something here. We went through a situation when we were there in our captivity that really marked our determination. Because this guy wanted to break us. This guy wanted to break us because, there was a way that would make us beg the U.S. government to get us released. So they tried to break us, and they could not do it because we were determined to stay calm, focused, and survive. So one day came the director of the dungeon to our cell, and he saw us doing things. And the guy told us, "Hey, man, from what planet you come? Are you from Mars?" That guy could not believe that we were so steadfast. So we were not allowing us to get break. I said, that's the determination. Well, even you're going to any circumstance in life, you get focused and determined to pursue your dream and your goal, because our dream was going to be freed, and we made it. So you, in your life, in your business, that is exactly what you have to do. So that determination is the fuel that keeps your spirit alive. It's what you can go, even if the odds are against you, you continue moving, because now you're resilient and now you're determined, because that the resilience keep you bouncing back every time you fail. The last speaker, Tamara, that I heard her resonate a lot with me when I heard all those cases, very famous people that failed several times. She mentioned the case of Starbucks. I remember reading the case of Starbucks. This guy were rejected their loan more than 200 times, and they kept going. They never stopped going, because that's the resilience. You fail, you come back, and you keep bouncing back and going and going and going and going until you succeed. So that's the resilience. And when you're determined and you're resilient, you become powerful. So now comes your adaptability. The adaptability for me was key, because we were going to extreme situation. It was changing every day, because we were kept in the middle of the tense situation was going, the two governments. So we became the political pawns and the bargaining chips of the situation. If the thing was going bad, for us was going bad. So we had a lot of situations. I'm not gonna mention here because it's too much. So I will encourage the people that when I talk about my book, when they have the opportunity to read my book, From Hero to Villain, that is my book that you see here. I narrate there stories how we needed to be adaptive, because that adaptability is that force that makes you continue going and going and going, no matter what the situation that you're going through. So gives you that flexibility that you can maintain yourself. So that is the adaptability. I can say in our circumstance, I can mention that, for example, at some point after 1 year in our captivity, they allowed us to have books. We began to have books. So everybody was reading, was happy reading books, all the day reading books. So I was reading, I believe I read like 300 books. So during those years, there were periods that we had books. But one day they opened the door, because we didn't know what was going with the relation with the US, and something went wrong. And this guy decided to punish us. And one day they opened the door and said, give me all the books back. And we stayed like 10 months without books. The next time, one day we were having calls with our family, and one day they decided to take out the phones. We had a phone there to talk, and I stayed the next 10 months without having communication with my family. So that keep us moving. So we needed to adapt to the situation. It could drive you crazy if you don't become adapted. It can really drive you crazy. So that's why a successful leader is that becomes adaptive. Because today, in the changing world that you have today, the situation can change dramatically. Any situation going in the world, in the Middle East, or wherever, or Ukraine, or the situation that's going now in Venezuela, can affect the oil market, and that can change and it can make the economic change totally like this. So you need to be adaptive. But how you're going to be successful being adaptive? Making your employees be adaptive too. So you have to lead them to be adaptive, and you have to empower them to be adaptive, and you have to hear them to be adaptive, and that feedback will help you to, with your employee, move on. So that's what adaptability is. And the fourth tool is the leadership. For me, leadership was part of my life. I did my career in leadership positions. So for me, it was like something, it was almost kind of granted. But when I went through my captivity, I really need to prove what really leadership was. Because that make us test all the tools that we have learned during years, because we needed to lead by example our colleagues to make them make this terrible situation we were going. But at the same time, there were a lot more political prisoners with us, and we needed to also, cheer them. I remember that we went to a moment that was a very tense moment. And one day came one of the guys that was a military that was there and was a political prisoner. And the guy came to me and said, "Hey, Jose, I have time looking what you're doing, what you, the 6 of 6, the 6 of you are doing," because we were 6 guys. And he said, "And I admire what you're doing." And I said, "Why?" "Because you have been consistent. And you have, and we look what you're doing, and we admire what you're doing, and that keeps us going." And that's what a leader does. You become a model to the others, because you're leading by example. We were unconsciously leading them by example. We were not doing because of them. We were doing because of us. But when you do that, you are giving that inspiration to others. When you're a leader in your company, when you're in a leadership position, you need to lead by example. You need to be the example. You have to do what you pray. If you praise something, you have to do it, because that's what your employee will see. And when you develop the empathy as part of the tool of being a leader, when you become empathic with the people, you understand them, you put in their shoes, and you have a good communication with them, that's what will make you their model, and that will inspire them. And then when you tell what is your vision, they will follow you. That's what successful companies do. That's what successful leaders do. When they connect with the people, when they share their vision, and they drive them to follow them. They're in the front row. So that's what a true leader does. And that's what examples are, tons of examples, how successful leaders work, the leadership. So for me, those 4 tools, when you combine the resilience, when you combine the determination, when you combine the adaptability, and when you combine the leadership, those 4 tools is what going to unleash your unbreakable spirit, but always with a connection with the superiority. That is what will really unlock it. because we are creatures of God. We are creatures made in His image. So the way we can unleash it is with that connection. There's no way without the grace of God. So this is today my lesson to you, because we are life testament of it. We really needed to have determination. We needed to show leadership. We needed to be resilient. Or we needed to be adaptive, because it was part of our thing. So when I came back and I began to think about all these things, that's why at the end I decided to combining my leadership experience and combining my survival experience. I put it together and I became a leadership and resilient coach, and I created a leadership and resilient program called Life Pills for a Survivor Guide, where I help CEOs, business owners, and entrepreneurs to unleash their unbreakable spirit. So this that you see here is part of my program. If you go to my webpage, that is joseconnect.com, you will find all the tools that I apply, all the coaching sessions that I do, one-on-one or group, where I teach this, because I unleash that unbreakable spirit to the leaders in a very comprehensive way, because I teach them the tools that I went through. I went through it. I know how I do it, and that's what I want to share with you. So if you go to my webpage, you will find the coaching program. But I also have my speaking. I have my speaking that today I'm speaking to you, where I also speak this. I speak this in events, I speak that in congresses, and I speak to anybody that really need to resonate what I'm talking today with you. And I decided to write my book. So my book is here. It's called From Hero to Villain. This is my book. And here is where I told my story. You see it here, From Hero to Villain. So From Hero to Villain became my life testament, my memoir, because the way I wrote this book was during my captivity. I had the opportunity to write letters with my wife, and I smuggled letters, were not official letters. We smuggled letters through trash cans that we were delivering, and we kept doing it during almost 3 years. So when I came back in October 2022, my wife has compiled almost 1,000 letters. So those 1,000 letters became part of what I converted in today in what is my book. So what you see here in this book is a life testament of the things we went through. You see here in the From Hero to Villain the legacy that today I want to share with you, that anything in life you can survive, because you have that inner force. That inner force is inside you. You have it. What you have to do is unleash it. So rewinding everything that we have been talking here. If you go to my webpage, joseconnect.com, www.joseconnect.com, you will find there my coaching program, you will find my speaking, and you will find my book. My book is in Amazon, but you can also find it there. And I also, today, I write a newsletter in LinkedIn where I talk about this. My newsletter is called Building Resilience. By the way, yesterday I hit the 3,000 subscriber of my newsletter. I have a growing community there. They receive it by email and they receive it by LinkedIn too. And I have in my webpage, so you can also subscribe in my webpage. And I talk about leadership and resilience. And I also have a weekly radio talk show podcast that I do in a Christian radio channel called HOD Radio Network, where every Monday I talk about what I wrote in the newsletter. It's called Building Resilience. So all these tools together are what I'm talking today with you. Are those tools that you can use to become a great leader and to unleash that unbreakable spirit that you have there. So my last word that I want to give to everybody that's hearing me is the tools, you have it inside you. You have the greatness. You know how to do it. What I have to do is the determinations to do it. Once you decide to do it, you can make it because you have the power within, because you can pursue your greatness. You can embrace the changes and you can embrace the adaptability and you can have the courage, the compassion to become a great leader. But it's in you. You have to take the decision. And if you take the decision, you will always make it with the grace of God. So I'm here to help anybody that wants to contact me. Go to my webpage. I'm active in LinkedIn too, and we can have a talk. And as a conclusion, I'm gonna, the person that wants to contact me, I have a free masterclass that is called How Can You Become a Great Leader in Your Business, in Your Life. Anybody that wants to contact me, I can send it. It's a 1 hour masterclass where I go more in the details of how a leader can begin a business and what are the tools that they have to do if they're thinking to have a business, or they can have a checking of if their business are going okay. That's what I do in my masterclass. So at the end, remember, the inner force comes from God because we are creatures of Him. He empowers you. You can unlock the unbreakable spirit that is in you. So, well, thank you for having me, sharing my story, and I hope that inspire you to be the courage in your journey and become resilient and become successful. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hearing me. C-Star Global, thank you for having me in this moment. And I'm open to any question that you can have.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jos. It's a wonderful presentation, and it would be helpful for my future also. So I need to check. Maybe we have a question. Okay. Okay, so I took one question from there. Like one person asked, how did your experience of unjust captivity shape your understanding of leadership, and what core lesson from that time are reflected in your Forex growth tools?
Well, what I was saying, because that I really needed to really shape my leadership skills during the captivity, because I did a career doing leadership position, but this was something beyond, something that I could not imagine when I was going through there, because when I went to my captivity, I lost everything. So I was not capable to do absolutely nothing. So you feel total vulnerable. So can you imagine being in the top position? I was a CEO of a company, and one day after, I was in a dungeon without no capability of nothing. So you can become really crazy. You can really become crazy, but if you decide to be determined and you be focused and you have that mindset, because everything is related to the mindset, and you have that connection, because I was having my family waiting me out, and now I'm having the faith in that God will make the miracle. So that began to shape my strength. So I begin to take my leadership skills and begin to help others. So we were 6 guys, and I began to lead them. We created a survival plan. We got together and we did a comprehensive survival plan, and we stick to that plan during years. So every time we were having any failure, we came back, we revisit the plan, and we adapted and we continue moving. If somebody was failing because you can have some day that you're down, the other were cheering in the others. So these are the things that you do in a business. If you were having, because can you imagine 6 guys living in a room during years, nothing go, anything that was going, we stopped it immediately. We talk. If somebody had to say, hey, sorry, I made a mistake, you said, sorry, and move on. This is something that when you
Yeah.
extrapolate it to your business, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. So these are the tools that really you need to use in any situation in your life, in your business. And I discovered, and it worked because I'm here. It worked.